So in the first Toy Story, Buzz is quite delusional for a while. He actually believes himself to be the Buzz Lightyear. And eventually, towards the end of the film, he comes to the realization that he is just a toy. Now, it's made a little unclear as to whether or not Buzz fully understands who exactly Buzz Lightyear actually is. He understands, obviously, that it's not him, but who was Buzz Lightyear, or who is Buzz Lightyear? Does he realise that Buzz Lightyear isn't real at all? Or does he think that he is just somebody else and he's just maybe a copy or a model of him? And somehow I never really fully grasped, in watching any of the Toy Story films, that Buzz Lightyear is actually a character from a TV show. See, this was the weird thing, actually, about the concept of Buzz Lightyear, that I was never quite fully aware of or really fully understood in watching the Toy Story films. Who exactly was Buzz Lightyear and what did he have in connection to the Buzz Lightyear toy in the Toy Story universe? I didn't really consider it a particularly important part of the story though, so it just doesn't really bother me. Then I saw Doug Walker's review of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command during Disneycember. Now, this year's, or I suppose last year's Disneycember didn't actually interest me that much in general, because he actually only reviewed a total of 2 movies that I had actually seen, and a lot of others which I was not even aware of their existence, including Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. And while I still don't really have any kind of major interest in seeing the film, it did enlighten me on something that I never really fully grasped in watching the Toy Story films. And that is that it enlightened me to the fact that Buzz Lightyear is actually a character in a TV show that exists within the Toy Story universe. And that explains quite a lot to me, like the fact that the ad that Buzz sees in Toy Story refers to him as one of the world's greatest superheroes. And also this thing that he keeps saying, to infinity and beyond, that's obviously a catchphrase from the actual show. And at the start of Buzz Lightyear's Star Command, you actually see Buzz putting on the actual TV show. So he is obviously aware of the fact that the Buzz Lightyear TV show does exist, and that he is a toy of the character. But here's the thing about this whole thing that I don't fully understand. Buzz may not have been fully aware of the existence of the TV show when he thought he actually was Buzz Lightyear, but obviously by the end of Toy Story he does fully understand that he is a toy of the character from a TV show, and he's aware of the show's existence. Then we find out in Toy Story 2 that Woody is also a toy of a character from a TV show. Here's where things kind of fall apart for me and start to not make sense. Woody doesn't know about the TV show. Woody had no prior knowledge of the show that he was from. Even when he meets other characters from the show and sees all of this merchandise, nothing appears to jog his memory and enlighten him or come to any kind of realization. Oh yeah, that's right, I was from this show. Now when I first saw Toy Story 2, the explanation for why Woody wasn't aware that he was a character from a TV show, and doesn't remember the show at all, was kind of obvious. He isn't the actual character Woody that's in the TV show, he's just a toy of the character from the TV show. But then you take it back to Buzz, who is also just a toy of a character from a TV show, who is well aware of his character's existence. And in fact, for a while, he actually thought he was the character. Does this mean Woody thought he actually was the character from Woody's Roundup for a while and he just forgot about it? I mean, keep in mind, this is obviously a show that ran throughout the 50s. I think they actually mention at one point in the film that it was cancelled around the time Sputnik was launched, which I think was 1959. So it probably ran throughout the 50s, which means that the show ended about 40 years ago, even at the time of the events of the first Toy Story. Wow, for such an old toy, Woody's in pretty good condition. So is it possible over the course of time Woody's just forgotten about this show? 40 years doesn't really seem long enough for someone to just simply forget about what they used to do or what they used to be. But then we're looking at that from a human perspective. Maybe toys' memories work differently. Toys, after all, probably do have a much longer lifespan than a person because they don't grow old. We do actually see in the third Toy Story that they can switch Buzz back to demo mode, which basically makes him act the way he was in the first film. And then when he switches back to being the normal Buzz near the end of the film, he has no memory of what he was doing when he was in demo mode. So perhaps Woody was in some kind of demo mode during the whole time of this show's existence, and then at some point after the show had faded into obscurity, perhaps there was some kind of switch on his back that erased all of these memories. It doesn't appear there's any kind of switch on Woody's back though, so I don't know, maybe this worked in a slightly different way. Or maybe toys do just naturally forget things over time. But the thing is, even if Woody had forgotten about this show that he was a part of, shouldn't have seeing these other characters from the show and seeing all of this merchandise have jogged his memory in some kind of way? Even Peter Pan in the film Hook eventually does remember who he used to be. but Woody never remembers this show at all. Which from a narrative standpoint makes complete sense, because it means that Woody doesn't know any more than the audience knows. So that means everything gets explained to him and we, the audience, fully understand the situation. Had he had prior knowledge of the show and been able to remember it over time, there would have been no reason to explain anything to Woody, and we, the audience, would have been left in the dark. From a continuity standpoint, over the course of the whole Toy Story series, though, it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense that Buzz would know about his show, but Woody wouldn't. The only possible explanation I can think of is that it has something to do with how old a toy Woody is. He has to be at least 40 years old, considering his show ran back in the 50s, while Buzz, at the time of the first Toy Story, is brand new, and even at the time of the third Toy Story, is only about 10 years old. Perhaps this is something that's going to be explained in the fourth Toy Story, which, by the way, I'm still not a fan of the idea of making another film, since they wrap up the series so well at the end of the third film. But that is something that they could try and explore in the fourth film. Do toys lose their memory over time because they have such long lifespans? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.